And tell me a little bit about your perspective on Congress. Is Congress sort of guilty of aiding and abetting? Has Congress lost complete sight of the fact that they are an institution that's supposed to be competing for power with the presidency as opposed to letting the president do whatever he pleases? What's happening in the legislative branch?
So, I think it's fair to say a majority in both chambers, and that's the Republican majority that controls both chambers, is tacitly participating in what the Trump administration is doing. They have had opportunities where they could push back, in particular the fact that we are in the process of negotiating a budget request and will need additional funding to keep the government open in the next several weeks. Those are points of leverage that a Congress that wanted to rein in the executive branch really could use to do it, even in spite of the threat of the veto that the president otherwise is able to yield to really raise the threshold of what you want to do. But they're not interested in doing that. In fact, it looks like they're going to enact a budget and other measures that if they get their way, if they have enough internal cohesion to pass both chambers, that will, not really push back in a meaningful way against what the Trump administration is doing, even reinforce it in certain ways. Although not implement it statutorily, as many legal scholars would say, that's what's actually necessary to comply with the law.
Right.
And that would get it out of the risk of courts pushing back and reversing at least parts of it. So, that question about what Congress is doing, they really are standing on the job. They're not fully implementing this, and they're doing it for partisan reasons because Congress is increasingly an institution where institutional interests have become secondary to partisan political interests. And that's been a long-term trend in American politics really for decades at this point.
Yep.
Does it mean it will always lie that fallow? No, not necessarily. I mean, the margins are very slim for Republican control. Even just a few Republicans willing to push back and say, no, we actually do want to look into these matters or take steps and stances against them could complicate things for the Trump administration, although having control of the chambers allows them to stifle a lot of dissent at small levels even within their caucus. But, you'll begin to hear the sort of vocal pushback. You'll have little points of pushback by Democrats. But really the pushback can only meaningfully come after 2026 midterm elections when there's a chance another party will control one chamber or the other, barring some huge break between Trump and his own party that seems very unlikely right now.
Yeah.